So I'm wondering how many people are really interested in where we're going with this today, because I think that we're going to begin to see some interesting things happening as we move forward. Hey, I'm Hypnotist Marc Marshall. For those of you who don't know me, I haven't seen who you are online. Just say hello, type it here in the chat box on the side. Be happy to say it. You know, I hope you're doing well in this pandemic that we're dealing with, and there's a lot that's been going on, and if you're as curious as I am, I'd like for you to join the discussion. So anyway, what this is all about is simply what I believe is the greatest mass hypnosis of all time. And as I said in the paper that I wrote, this whole thing is really interesting because what's going on right now, what we're seeing happening right now, is all of the elements of hypnosis are in play here. You know, I wrote about it just yesterday, and because it struck me in the middle of the night that everything that I do in my clinical session, everything that I do in my stage presentations, it's all there. What we're seeing here is that this entire event has just completely overloaded us. And in that overload process, we are highly suggestible. And it is that suggestibility that really is frightening in so very many ways, because people are getting messages either intentionally or unintentionally that are really creating an even bigger problem for them, creating more challenges. You know, as a hypnotist, for those of you who are not hypnotists, one of the things that we concern ourselves with very clearly is the importance of being mindful of the language that we're using, because it's so easy to put in a negative suggestion when it's not your intent. And yet, everything that we're hearing is a negative-based intention. And in that process, I just wonder how aware people are of the messages that are coming in. And so this is a wake-up call. This is a call to everybody to stop, take a deep breath, and change your focus. Because when we change the focus, we move everything forward. You know, the subconscious mind is so powerful, and the fact is that all of the critical faculty, all of the functions that protect us from these kind of messages is gone. You know, we don't have that in place right now. And that's really what my concern is that it's been stripped to the side because of this fight, flight, freeze mechanism that we're engaged in right now. And in that workout, in that process, I have to understand, I have to figure out what is it that is going on that tells me I should be doing something differently. And so my concern continues to be that we're not doing it. We're being led down the line, and we're seeing this entire process unfold just as if we were in a hypnosis show. What I'm hearing, what I'm seeing is quite clearly negative message, negative message, negative message. And I'm reminded of the story, and most clinical hypnotists will tell you they've heard this along the line. There was this Aboriginal tribesman from Australia, and he comes into the hospital one day and he says to the doctors, "I'm going to die." And the doctors do a complete test. They run every scan, every test, and he's healthy as can be. There's nothing wrong with him. And they said to him, why is it that you think you're going to die? He says, well, I'm going to die within 6 months. He says, why? He says, because they put a curse on me. Well, needless to say, in 6 months, he was dead. There was nothing physically wrong with him. But the mind is that powerful that it is able to create that kind of scenario. I mean, we see this in medical settings all the time when someone is diagnosed with cancer and the doctor tells them, get your affairs in order, you've got less than a year to live. Well, that may be the case. But we all hear and we all know of situations where quite the opposite has happened. There are those stories as well, and we've seen them, we've heard them, where someone has been given that death sentence and years later they're still with us. And again, the difference is the thinking, the focus, what you believe. So what's gone on in COVID-19 that concerns me is the hijacking of your thinking, our thinking. We have experts who were telling us initially to expect in the United States between 100 and 250,000 deaths. And I understand they're working off of modeling, and I understand all of that. And now we look at the new projections, the new models, and we're looking at something in the neighborhood of projected 60,000 deaths. And while every death is sad and tragic, the reality is that what is going on right now, what we're seeing happening right now, is simply that you can change your thinking. And by changing your thinking, by becoming more engaged, by becoming more proactive, by looking at the possibilities of what this is going to do for you, the opportunities that this can send for you, and seeing the positive aspect of that, how can I use this time now to improve myself? And stop focusing on the projections that may or may not come true. And that's the challenge. We are in a state of hypnosis. And the suggestibility that this is bringing us takes us to the place where it's time to be focusing on the positive messages. What the mind conceives, the body achieves. So if you believe solely, completely, that you are going to be okay, in fact, you're going to be better than okay, you're going to be good, you're going to take this and you're going to have this opportunity to move yourself forward, then this mass hypnosis that's going on because of being isolated, because of being scared, because you're in that fight-flight mechanism, it's time to move from there. Reduce the stress, reduce the anxiety, and begin to do things that move you forward. I listen very carefully to the language that the medical professionals are telling us. And there's conflicting stuff back and forth. And on one end of the media spectrum, you're hearing that this is all false news, it's all fake, and that these treatments are not going to be beneficial. And on the other side of it, you hear, this is the best thing since sliced bread. This will stop the pandemic. Time will tell which one it is. We are seeing results. But we're also seeing the breakdown of wellness along the line. Because, hey Katie, because we're allowing ourselves to be manipulated into believing that we are sick or we are going to get sick. And if I believe I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick. And if I believe and act as that's not going to happen to me, and I'm going to take the precautions, and I am going to protect myself, and I am going to stay isolated, and I am going to engage in those behaviors that strengthen me, then those things happen to move us forward, to strengthen us, to make us not susceptible to the negative suggestions that are coming through the systems. So, as you watch this process unfold now, as you hear people begin to tell you that we're not going to get out of this for a long time. Yeah, the world has changed as we know it. This is an event that will shape a generation, just as the Spanish flu, just as the Great Depression did, just as World War II did. Yes, it's going to shape a generation. And it's going to change the way we all interact. And just maybe, the way it's going to change us is bring us closer together, to be more respectful, to be more responsible, to be more loving, to be more accepting. The process that it's engaged right now, the process of isolation, the process of negative messaging that we are receiving, is truly interesting. And in all of this, and I'm not commenting whether you like him or not, but for those of you who have had the opportunity to have watched the president's press conferences, you're going to notice that he is a cheerleader. And he understands what it is about positive messaging that is important. Remember, people do not remember the words you say. They remember the feeling that you give them. They tie that emotional experience. I had a discussion earlier today with a teacher that I know about the challenges that are going on in the education system. And it is the same thing. This is an opportunity to learn, to take those experiences and move these people forward, move our students forward, allowing them to see what it means to take responsibility for self, responsibility for others, and to recognize the difference of what happens when we isolate. And in this isolation, and in this entire process, it is giving us the time to stop the insanity. Stop listening to those who are seeking to change your thinking and make you believe that things are terrible. They're not good. Yeah, they could be better. But we can make them better. You can make yourself better. You can make yourself stronger. And it's my concern that the very things that we need to break us out of this hypnotic state, to become active, become physical, to become more in tune with ourselves, is taking us away from the path that we're going in. We can and should be able to take all of the positive aspects of this time to improve ourselves. So with all of that going on, with everything that's happening, the number of people who are reaching out to me who are stressed and anxious continues to be significant. And in each of those cases, the first question that I'm asking is, do you meditate? Because what we're looking at in this mass hypnosis that we're seeing is people hijacking your feelings and getting you into the prospect of projecting what can go wrong. And what we're really seeing is what can go right. When we see the flattenings of curves, when we see the revision downward of projected deaths from this, what we're seeing is what can go right. So my challenge, my question, my advice for those who want to accept it is simply take the time every day to focus and meditate. To stop focusing on what you could have done, what you should have done, what you need to do, what you're going to do, and become present. Become present in this moment. Let yourself be here. And as long as you're breathing, as long as you're focusing, as long as you're in this moment, everything is okay. And that's what mindfulness is about. And when you're mindful of the moment, mindful of your body, mindful of how good you can feel, mindful of those around you, you don't have time to focus on the what ifs. The what ifs, I have to stay in-house another month. The what if I'm not going to have a job. The what if I get sick. The answer is very simple. Worrying about what may or may not happen does not solve the problem. It doesn't stop it from happening. It only robs you of your ability to be present. It robs you of your ability to have the emotional, physical, and spiritual energy that you need to overcome this entire challenge. That's where we need to change. That's where things need to happen. Where we stop allowing ourselves and our subconscious minds to be hijacked. Where we put that wall up and we say, I'm not going to do it. And one of the things as a hypnotist that I know is very simply, if someone doesn't want to be hypnotized, is consciously fighting hypnosis, I can't hypnotize them. At least not easily. And this mass hypnosis that we're seeing is because we're not being aware. We're allowing ourselves to be hijacked. We're allowing others to take over the subconscious mind. And simply, how many times has a song come on the air and you know the words? You know the words. Now, you didn't study the words. You didn't read the words, for the most part. Those got in through repetition, through that unconscious process. And it made a connection with you some way. Well, that's exactly what's going on with all the messaging that we're hearing. All the negative messaging. It's time to say enough. It's time to go forward and say, you know what? I'm not going to be part of this process. I'm not going to be one of the masses that's going to allow you, the media, the experts, who are going to tell me it's going to be bad. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. Yes, people are going to get sick and some people are going to die. But people are going to recover as well. The economies are going to come back, maybe differently. And it may be a new opportunity for us that we've never had before. And that's exciting. That is exciting, that we have an opportunity to change. We've been given this opportunity to see things completely from a new perspective. And isn't that exciting? So what are you doing for yourself today? Besides giving me your time, spending your time here with me. What are your plans for later today? How are you going to do something today and every day to move yourself forward, to improve your life, to not be one of the masses that are being hypnotized, that are being told to feel bad, being told to be scared? Sure, be concerned, be aware, but be aware of what else is out there. Walk in the rain, walk in the cold, walk in the sunshine, walk wherever you can. And as you do that, look around, be mindful, and be observant. And when you're that way, when you're mindful, when you're present, amazing things begin to happen. You can think yourself successful. Every action starts with a thought. Every action starts with a thought. The body responds to that thought. So, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Please be sure to leave your comments. If you want to reach out, if you are struggling, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, message me. I'll be happy to share my MP3 with you. Costs nothing. It's my gift to people. I'm not selling anything. For those of you who think you can benefit from hypnosis, we can talk. Be happy to work with you. Reach out to those who are close to you. Tell them that you love them. Let them know that they're important. Not just today, but every day. And most importantly, just take this time to stop the insanity. Take a deep breath and know that you are going to be in a better frame of mind because you're no longer part of the herd. You can choose, even in being physically away from people, to remain connected. And that's not isolation. That's just a difference of space. Please leave your comments below. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy. And on the count of 3, you're wide awake and back in the room. 1, 2, 3. Have a good one. Marshal the power of your mind. I'm Marc Marshall. This has been witnessing the greatest hypnosis of all time. Take care, everybody.